welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. We've got a returning guest, one of my all-time favourite comic book creators. It is Mark Waid. How are you doing,
You're
mate?
very kind, sir. Good. I'm doing well today.
It's absolutely true. And what's exciting about this particular conversation is that you're here to speak to me about one of my all-time favourite comics runs, and that's the collected edition of Captain America: Heroes Return,
Thank
Volume
you.
2, which was the whole story of you and Ron and your run on Ron Garney and your run on Captain America is a fascinating one. So when you look back, what do you feel about that period of time?
I feel like we really were onto something. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, when we first came on the book before all this, it wouldn't have done anything if not for Ron. No one would. I honestly say that if it had been a mediocre artist and me, no one would have paid attention. So Ron is the shot across the bow because it looked unlike a Captain America we've ever seen before. So we were very, very lucky to have him back for the first few issues of the post Heroes Reborn run, or Heroes, whatever it was, Heroes Reborn. But the thought was, okay, let's give him a new number one. Let's create a second Captain America book called Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty, and that could be Ron's book with me. And so it was a sort of a step up in that way, and that's why Andy Kubert comes in. And Andy and I worked just so exceptionally well together. He's so smart, and he's such a great storyteller and such a good guy. But I mean, it really gave me a whole new energy.
Yeah, because I mean, this Volume 2 collection comes from an interesting period of time. But back in the day, what did it feel like to be? Because I thought your first run on Captain America was such an explosion, and then for business reasons to be taken away from you in the way that it was. I mean, I was one of those fans who's just utterly dismayed by that turn of events.
Me too.
Living inside that whirlwind must have been fascinating to get the chance to come back.
Yeah, it was dangerous because, as I've always said, going back to something you've done before is super dangerous because people aren't remembering. Like if I came back to Flash tomorrow, people aren't comparing me to what my old Flash work was. They're comparing me to their memory of what that work was and their memory of how it made them feel. So I'm competing not only with the work, but with the nostalgia attached to it. And that's a battle that's very hard to win. Like, for instance, I can't imagine ever taking on Fantastic Four again for any extended length of time because, again, that's what you're competing with. But with Cap, I mean, the wound was so fresh, if you will. It was only a year difference, and there was still so much we wanted to say with that book that it felt like it was worth taking that gamble. It didn't necessarily have to pay off. It could have crashed and burned, but it didn't.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I know you've always had a great feel for Cap as a character, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading an interview with you once, and I'm almost sure it was you, where you said you used the Roger Stern speech about the American dream in a commencement speech of some kind. Was that you? Am I remembering this correctly?
It was me. It was actually a Steve Englehart speech.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
At the end of the Nomad arc, but that I used, and it was in a class. It was a college class about Americana, and I used that speech. I actually wore a Captain America shirt. In retrospect, it's a little cringy, but at the moment, it was very much how I felt, and it's still very much how I feel in terms of it's hard to write Captain America. It's virtually impossible to write Captain America now. I wouldn't take the role on now as writer, not because I would be afraid of competing with nostalgia, but because I'm having a very difficult time personally reconciling my feelings about what this country should be with what it has become.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't know who Captain America stands for at this moment in time. So I don't envy the next writer to pick up that baton. But at the time we were writing it in the post Heroes Reborn era, where the trade paperback comes out, it was a different time. And I felt very confident in Captain America's role that we had outlined for him, which was not a defender of the Constitution, not a defender of the Declaration of Independence, but a defender of the Bill of Rights. That to me is his agenda, is defending the American Bill of Rights, and to really explore and answer, what does the term American dream mean? You know, I also said this in interviews at the time, but I was curious, and back in the day, I actually Googled the term. I don't know that we Googled back then, but I actually did a search engine term on American dream, and I was sort of stunned that the first several pages of hits were all about real estate, and that's not the American dream as I see it. So I love the idea that we were able to put Captain America in the book that we're getting ready to issue. That we're getting ready to put him through his paces in terms of really exploring what the American dream is. What is the definition of that to Cap and to us?
Yeah, I think that's very well said, and such a great thing about your run. Outside of yourself, who else's work on Captain America have you enjoyed over the years? Your guys on that time.
Sure, Steve Englehart is my benchmark.
Course,
I think Mark Grunwald did great stuff.
Yeah.
I really like what Ta-Nehisi Coates did. I didn't necessarily have to give up Captain America when Chris Samnee and I started, ended our run. But if I was gonna do it, that would be the one guy that I would have, that I gleefully would have given it to. And we had some good conversations about Cap, and I enjoyed passing the baton off to him because I knew he would have really interesting things to say that were not the things that I would say because of his situation, because of who he is.
That's so interesting. That was specifically of interest to me, how you thought about that transition, because I think what Ta-Nehisi did is really interesting, right?
Yeah.
But it comes off that great run you had with Samnee. I mean, it must have been. That book reeks of pleasure to me. Whenever I read it, I think you guys are having such a good time with it.
I would never have taken that job again if not for Chris. If that was not what Chris wanted to do, because Chris was my safety net in case people compared me to their nostalgic views of what they loved about the Captain America we did before. And boy, it's always a joy to work with Chris, always.
Yeah. On this, if you can remember specifically on the collection we're talking about, Heroes Return Volume 2, what do you think for you are the standout moments in that narrative?
The treatment of the Red Skull, the Red Skull material we did, I think is the standout. There's also a Lee Weeks issue in there, a Lee Weeks drawn issue that is Captain America in the far future, or at least the spirit of Captain America in the far future, that I think ages well, and I'm very proud of that.
Brilliant. Thanks for chatting to me about it, Mark. It's a total pleasure. That's the Captain America Heroes Return Volume 2 collection, available for order right here. Always a pleasure to chat with you, and I'll see you soon, mate.
You bet.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.